Good day Exofighters and welcome back to another advanced exosuit guide, today featuring our healing specialist and honorary frog, the Witchdoctor. If you've been watching these guys then you know the drill. For the very basics, I recommend checking out our ultimate classes guide for introduction, but in this one we'll only discuss the advanced mechanics of Witchdoctor, their exclusive exosuit modules and what they do, and of course we'll talk about the recommended PvE and PvP builds to use in game. Title Update 1 is about to drop very soon on the 16th of August with 10 additional exosuits to play with, and if you're interested in guides for them too as soon as possible, subscribe to the channel. Witchdoctor is a healing specialist support, as in they have the most reliable healing in Exoprimal, along with the only ability that can constantly heal the whole team without any effort. Next to all that healing, they also specialize in supporting their team through their neural rod weapon that paralyzes dinosaurs and allows your team to deal more damage to them easier. And while this is a primarily supporting weapon, it actually deals a very respectable DPS that shouldn't be shrugged off. So my very first tip for Witchdoctor would be to not underestimate their damage output, to only use the neural rod for stunning, as according to my calculations, it still deals around 90 to 100 damage per second against larger dinosaurs. That is around 50% of an assault exosuit's weapon damage, which will add up if you have 100% uptime during battles to speed up your games. So don't just stand back and heal, but try to be as aggressive as possible, as they are one of the few exosuits that deal the same damage no matter how you hit a dinosaur, making their damage reliable and stable. The next one isn't much of a tip, rather a confirmation that despite some rumors, Witchdoctor's repair fields do not stack, so placing down 2 of your circles will not give faster healing to you and your allies, so do not waste your ability stacks. I tested and they still take the same amount of times with the same speed, 4 times per second with 7 health repaired each tick. So I imagine this is like most buffs in the game that you can have only 1 on at a time. Repair field is all about maintaining 100% uptime instead. While we're talking about healing, also a quick reminder that Vital Aura, your overdrive ability, isn't just a healing ability, but it also gives you and your allied exosuits a 50% damage reduction aura for 10 seconds, which can be more important than the heal itself a lot of the times. Lastly, a reminder that your feed healing and energy recharge ability for your weapon also has an innate ability to boost you and your teammates' movement speed or slow down enemy exosuits. The movement speed boost specifically is very significant, 20% movement speed buff for both you and your target for a whole 20 seconds, which gives you much needed mobility, and for defense and disabling enemy exosuits, your feed gives out 3 seconds movement speed penalty of 70%, which is also a very punishing status effect when used correctly. All in all, Witchdoctor doesn't have any super complex mechanics, it's much more of a resources management exosuit, so it's important to know exactly what all your abilities do. With that said, let's get straight into modules instead. Our first comparison is between the red modules, Sprawling Shock and Shock Therapy, both modules designed for a more offensive Witchdoctor and both of them having very strong uses. Sprawling Shock very simply increases the attack range of Witchdoctor's neural rod by around 30%, which while in itself can sound a bit underwhelming, remember that neural rod attacks in a cone in front of you, which means this range increase also makes your attack radius wider, thus significantly increasing Witchdoctor's ability to hold back large amounts of dinosaur hordes when needed, so it can be an excellent small dinosaur controlling module. Additionally, I like to use this module in order to ensure my Witchdoctor can always deal damage, as large dinosaurs especially love to move a lot, and Sprawling Shock allows me to always keep my attacks active without getting out of range, which happens otherwise quite often. But this way you can maintain your DPS and offer a very stable supportive damage to your team, which again is nothing to scoff at. The other choice is Shock Therapy, which is a strictly PvE option for Witchdoctor, saying it greatly decreases the time required to paralyze dinosaurs. According to my tests, this halves the time required to stun a large dinosaur, so instead of around 25 seconds, it will only take 12 seconds to paralyze a Carnotaurus. For small dinosaurs, this module makes no difference, since you'll instantly paralyze them, and one important thing to notice is that while it does reduce the time to paralyze a large dinosaur at first, they still build up resistance after that, just like in Monster Hunter, making them very hard to paralyze, so you won't paralyze them twice as much, you will only paralyze them faster for the first time. Overall, while the paralysis can be useful, I think this is still a niche pick, since most random teams won't be able to make good use of that paralysis time to deal a lot of damage. I think it's best used for organized teams to stun together, like freeze into paralysis and such, but it can still offer valuable stun if that's what you prefer. Both modules have their uses here, but I also think the red modules on Witchdoctor are the easiest to drop, and the universal module here could be more valuable, such as a rig loading module for more rig usage, or high soul compression module to give yourself more overdrive uses, and thus more of that juicy 50% damage reduction aura for the whole team. Our second category is Repair Boost versus Adrenaline Feed, a clear choice between more offense-focused Witchdoctor and a healing-focused one. Repair Boost increases the healing effectiveness of your repair field by around 30%, increasing your ticks from 7 to 9 health repaired each time, and overall giving, I believe, 50 more health back from a single circle. It is a simple and clear healing buff, nothing too overcomplicated, but gameplay-wise, I find that this healing boost is not that required in PvE scenarios, as the healing circle is either enough to keep everyone alive, or it's just not enough at all when attacked by a large dinosaur, and that healing boost usually does not make a huge difference. In PvP, on the other hand, the damage you and your team receives is all over the place and can be very chaotic, where this boost can definitely be the difference between life and death, but I recommend using it depending on your playstyle as a Witchdoctor. The Adrenaline Feed alternative is your offensive option, as this module also gives a new feature to your feed ability, reducing its cooldown and also giving around 20% damage boost buff to your target exosuit for 5 seconds. This is a very considerable damage boost given that it also boosts ability damage, and while this is also a straightforward buff ability, very important aspect to mention here is that with a good team or smart positioning of your Witchdoctor, you can hit multiple exosuits with a single feed in front of you, which means that you can give this 20% damage boost to even your whole team potentially, giving you a complete exosuit advantage in theory. So in this category, while Repair Boost can be a very valuable healing boost and sometimes I find it inconsistent when it's useful or when you just don't need it at all, while Adrenaline Feed can have one of the most powerful effects in the whole game if used in a controlled and team environment, but I found even in random games I could give this boost to 2 exosuits at a time very frequently. Lastly, the choice is between Safety Leap and Quick Leap, a choice between more healing and better mobility, and I'm definitely a bit biased with these two here. Safety Leap modifies your Rescue Leap ability that now it will replenish 1 use of repair field each time you use Rescue Leap, essentially giving you 100% uptime on your repair field if used correctly. In fact, it gives you more repair field than needed, allowing you to place 2 or even 3 healing circles at a time for much larger coverage when your team really needs it, like let's say in PvP. This module just enhances the main ability of Witchdoctor to be even better, arguably one of the best healing abilities in the games, so it is a no-brainer why this module is very useful. It doesn't require any advanced explanation, and frankly there isn't much to say about it either, it's just really good. Alternatively, you can also pick Quick Leap that reduces the cooldown of your leap to only 6 seconds, thus giving Witchdoctor more mobility, and while in general I don't think this module is easy to make value out of, one combination I could think of which would make this module pretty darn good is using it for defensive maneuvering, as in if you're being harassed by let's say a melee exosuit, you can use Feed on them for a 3 seconds massive movement speed reduction, then leap away, and keep repeating this cycle for a fairly good survivability, since you'll be able to use Leap again shortly after the movement speed reduction ended, somewhat giving you infinite amount of kiting ability. But as I said, it's a fairly niche application, and without it, I just don't know if Witchdoctor requires this extra mobility, but as I said, I'm also biased as I don't have positive experience of using Quick Leap so far. Those are all the exclusive modules for Witchdoctor, fairly interesting I would say. Now let's take a look at the builds I use. For PvE, I like to use Sprawling Shock to play very aggressively and make sure I can deal as much damage as possible, while also bringing all the healing Witchdoctor can. Then I use Adrenaline Feed to maximize team damage as much as I'm allowed. In some cases, as I said, I can easily buff the whole team even, and I use Safety Leap for that additional repair field use I get all the time, letting me place my healing fields without any downtime and making sure I keep everyone alive. For PvP, I dropped the first exclusive module and instead I prefer to use Rig Loading module to use it with the shield rig mostly. This way I can either stay alive longer or help reviving teammates, but I think a universal module here is better for PvP overall, whichever you choose in the end, while still keeping Adrenaline Feed to give better burst damage to my teammates. In an organized team, this can be devastating if you buff the whole team before a team fight and combine it with the damage reduction of Vital Aura. And then I also use Safety Leap for additional repair field use, once again for better coverage and more healing. And that is a wrap for our Witchdoctor episode of our guide series, everyone. With perfect use of Adrenaline Feed, I would say Witchdoctor has the highest potential as a support exosuit in the game, so I'm surprised so many rate Witchdoctor so low in tier lists and such, but you know what they say, Take those lists with a grain of salt, as they're quite hit or miss most of the time. Hope this guide was useful and helped you understand Witchdoctor more and how to use them. It is a very fun and easy to play exosuit, possibly one of my favorites so far in Exoprimal, that I can wholeheartedly also recommend to beginner players to start out with. Thank you for watching, everyone. If you liked the video, remember to like and subscribe. But that is it for this one. Take care, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all the next time.